Imagine two people walking into the same grocery store on the same afternoon, filling nearly identical shopping carts and leaving with almost identical receipts. Yet the purchase means something completely different to each of them, because for one person, it represents a small routine expense, while for the other, it consumes a meaningful portion of the month's budget. The products are the same, the prices are the same, and the economy surrounding them is the same, but the financial experience is completely different. This difference reveals an important principle that is rarely discussed in conversations about wealth, because money does not simply grow in a straight line. Instead, it behaves differently after crossing certain thresholds, and one of the most commonly discussed psychological and financial turning points is $100,000. At first glance, $100,000 appears to be just another number with an extra zero attached to it. But numbers are not always important because of their size. Sometimes they matter because they change the way a system behaves. In physics, a small increase in temperature can suddenly turn water into steam. In economics, a seemingly ordinary increase in wealth can begin changing the decisions people make, the risks they are willing to take, the opportunities they can access, and perhaps most importantly, the amount of mental energy they spend thinking about money. The number itself is not magical, and it guarantees nothing, but it often represents the point where financial mechanics begin operating differently. To understand why, it helps to separate income from wealth, because these two concepts are often confused. Income is the flow of money entering your life through work, while wealth is the collection of assets that remain after spending and obligations. Two people earning exactly the same salary can live completely different financial realities if one has accumulated significant savings and investments, while the other has accumulated debt. Income determines today's lifestyle, but wealth determines tomorrow's options. Most people experience money as something that immediately arrives and immediately leaves. Salaries are deposited, bills are paid, groceries are purchased, rent or mortgage payments are made, transportation costs appear, and before long, another month begins. During this stage, money functions almost entirely as a tool for maintaining stability. Every financial decision competes with another necessary expense, and even minor unexpected costs can create meaningful stress because there is little room for flexibility. This creates what behavioral economists often describe as scarcity thinking. When financial resources remain limited, the brain naturally shifts attention toward immediate needs rather than long-term optimization. Research has consistently shown that scarcity consumes cognitive resources, making future planning more difficult, even for highly intelligent individuals. This is not a question of discipline or character. It is a predictable psychological response to limited resources and constant financial pressure. As savings begin growing, however, something subtle begins changing. The first few $1,000s often serve primarily as emergency protection. Instead of preventing wealth from disappearing, they prevent unexpected problems from becoming financial disasters. A broken appliance, a medical expense, or temporary unemployment no longer automatically creates a crisis. The money itself has not generated income, but it has reduced uncertainty, and uncertainty carries its own hidden financial cost. Now, consider what happens mathematically as wealth continues increasing. Imagine an investment portfolio earning an average annual return of 7% before inflation over very long periods. A portfolio worth $10,000 would generate approximately $700 in annual growth under those assumptions. Increase that portfolio to $100,000, and the same percentage now represents roughly $7,000. The investment strategy has not changed, yet the absolute impact becomes significantly larger because percentages operate on a larger base. This illustrates one of the most important characteristics of compounding. People often focus on the percentage return while overlooking the size of the principal. The percentage may remain identical, but every additional dollar invested allows future percentage gains to apply to a larger amount of capital. Eventually, growth begins contributing more than new savings alone. This transition rarely happens overnight, but it gradually changes how wealth accumulates. The psychological effect can be equally important. When investment growth begins producing noticeable yearly changes, people often become more patient because they can finally observe compounding in action, rather than simply hearing about it. During the earliest stages of saving, progress feels painfully slow because every increase depends almost entirely on personal effort. Later, investment returns begin sharing part of the workload. This does not eliminate the need for disciplined saving, but it changes the relationship between labor and capital. Another important shift involves decision-making. Someone living paycheck to paycheck often evaluates opportunities primarily according to immediate income because immediate cash flow determines financial survival. As wealth grows, decisions can increasingly be evaluated according to long-term value instead of short-term necessity. Education, career changes, entrepreneurship, and investment opportunities become easier to consider because financial reserves create additional flexibility. The options available have expanded, even though the individual may not have become dramatically richer overnight. There is also a mathematical reason why $100,000 receives so much attention in discussions about investing. The first $100,000 is frequently considered psychologically difficult because nearly every dollar comes directly from earned income rather than accumulated investment growth. Contributions dominate the equation. After that point, however, investment returns begin becoming increasingly visible, making future milestones potentially easier to reach if consistent investing continues and market conditions remain favorable.